Kazuhiko Azoe was just your average business consultant and labor lawyer, cruising through his middle-aged life. Until, boom, a mysterious hole popped up in his backyard. Curiosity got the best of him, so he took the plunge down this massive staircase and accidentally kicked off the whole dungeon system. Akane Kunoichi, a ninja from another dimension, showed up to spill the tea. Turns out, thanks to him, the world's on a 10-year countdown unless those dungeons get conquered. Kazu decided to level up and become a hero, even though he had zero clue about the baddies lurking in the 666 dungeons that were about to spawn. Fast forward to Tokyo, in the bustling Edogawa district. In a chill restaurant, some folks are munching away. One dude in a suit, rocking a 5 o'clock shadow, finishes up and bounces. With his phone in hand, our main guy checks his calendar, before dialing up to chat about a meeting on the horizon. Meet Kazuhiko Azoe, who ditched his old job a decade ago to become a business consultant and labor lawyer. Strolling down the street, he figures it's time to hit up another company since the last one bailed. Turns out, our consultant's not about that marriage life, so he's chilling in an old house in the Shikabane district living the dream, working 2 days, then kicking back for 2 elsewhere. The lawyer hits up Mochi and finds out Yuzu's in the house. Pumped, he orders a drink inside. He's sipping while she's munching. Later, he finally makes it home. After a quick face wash, Kazuhiko gets some water boiling. When the instant noodles are ready, he declares there's no better way to wrap up the day. But then, out of nowhere, everything starts shaking. Curious, he wonders if it's an earthquake. He flips on the TV to catch any news, but nada, so he figures maybe he had one too many drinks. Next day, he steps outside and spots a hole in his backyard. Baffled, he wonders if a bear could have done it, because, you know, architect bears are a thing. Remembering he's got 2 days off, Azoe decides to check it out. As he heads down the stairs, he's trying to figure out what's up with these steps, until he notices the structure stretches to the neighbor's roof, which could be a major headache. After what feels like a million steps, he finds a massive gate. He's hyped about the basement's size but figures he should call the authorities, since the place looks like a military base. But when he tries to open a door, a voice pops up saying, "First contact confirmed," and "The dungeon system has been activated," covering his ears. The poor lawyer's like, "Where's that voice coming from?" No answer, but the mysterious voice says his card is Akane Kunoichi, with a cool ability called Card Gacha. A system screen just appears out of thin air. Then, the voice is back, announcing the dungeon's called Abyss, and it's got an A-level difficulty. Finally, the announcer's all excited about the protagonist's journey to a new era. A woman shows up, smiling. She walks over and asks if he's her master. Kazuhiko's head is spinning, and he knows he needs to chill. Amused, the warrior teases about his not-so-subtle stare and introduces herself as the ninja Akane, saying they've got a world to save together. Turns out, the ninja's one of the 180 pillars built into the system. Seeing the protagonist's a bit frazzled, she offers a hand, but he's like, "Sorry, just a bit lost." Then, he asks her to hang tight for a sec. He steps closer, piecing together everything that's gone down, and figures the smart move is to gather all the intel he can. Cutting to the chase, he asks if she knows what a dungeon system is. Kunoichi laughs and explains, "It's the main gig running the universe. Because of this, next year, 666 dungeons will pop up on Earth, all random-like." Once he gets it, he asks if a dungeon's like a monster-filled cave. The ninja nods and says, "Each dungeon's got a ranking from F to S+. Each level decides the loot, like water, food, and cash. Meaning, the consultant could get rich, but he's got to train hard for it. Alright, buckle up, cause this story's about to get a glow-up. Here we go." So, this woman pops open her master's status window, saying he's got 6 slots for cards, which is pretty epic. The main dude's all, "Wait, does this mean I gotta use these skills to throw down?" Akane spills the tea that you can snag cards from magical beasts, then asks if the guy wants a tour. He's like, "Nah, gotta handle some stuff," and finds out she can't leave the dungeon's borders. With not much else going on, he tells her to hop back into the card until he's back. Oh, and she starts calling him by one of his names, which is kinda cute. Once everything's sorted, the ninja just vanishes. Azoe scoops up the card from the ground where she chills. After stashing it, he's all, "What's next on the agenda?" Back home, the dude hits the bathroom for a quick pit stop, then heads out for a smoke to clear his head. Knowing tomorrow's meeting free, he starts plotting how to spend the rest of the day, until he spots his watch and phone showing different times. After a brainwave, he remembers he only had the watch in the dungeon, which means time in there is totally whack. After comparing stuff with 2 different gadgets, Kazuhiko's like, "Time to test this theory." Later, he sees the watch and phone are 30 minutes off, but decides to do another test, leaving the watch in the dungeon. For just a minute, to see how time's playing tricks. While placing the watch, he tries to wrap his head around the weirdness. But, surprise, the hands go wild. He shoves it further in and waits a minute. Pulling it out, he's shook to see 2 hours zoomed by inside, which means he's got to chat with the ninja again. Later, Akane explains that in the safe zone, time's 144 times faster than Earth. Since the space is a whole different vibe and kinda alive. After the lowdown, she hopes he spends his time wisely, which includes chilling with her, 'cause no monsters can crash the party. Since no one else knows this dungeon's even a thing. The main dude asks what she meant about saving the world. She spills that if humans don't beat all 666 dungeons in 10 years, monsters will crash Earth and chow down on everyone. Freaked out, Ezoi's like, could this have been dodged if I hadn't shown up? Kunoichi's like, yeah, but no time for regrets. Since if he conquers all the dungeons in time, everyone's safe. Knowing humanity's fate is on him, the lawyer wonders if he's up for the fight. The ninja's all, so, have you made up your mind? Without answering, he asks if the world-ending stuff is legit. She's like, dunno why some memories are wiped, but loads of civilizations got wrecked by monsters. Thinking it over, he wonders if he should call the cops or the government, but figures that might not do squat. He decides he needs to check if he's really the cause and find the other dungeons, but only after sprucing up their spot. Outside the dungeon, Kazuhiko grabs some tools and gets busy. Yamada shows up to see what's up. He's like, sorry for the noise, had a raccoon drama recently, while thinking how humanity's on the brink of doom. After a bit, he decides to turn the dungeon into a workspace. 2 days later, part of it's ready to roll. Akane's giving him a foot massage, saying she didn't see that coming as her first gig, just like he didn't expect someone to turn the safe zone into an office. Then, she offers to please him more, but he's like, nah, I'm good. The dude thinks about her massage skills, and we find out he asked for it to run a test. Standing up, Ezoi thanks her, feeling all chill. The ninja asks what's next on the list. Ezoi explains that since the dungeon's his, no one will find it, so she can deck it out however she wants. Kunoichi gets hyped when she hears he's bringing a sofa and fixing up the floor and walls. Climbing onto his lap, the ninja's all, wow, didn't think I'd find someone who'd go all out for me. The lawyer's like, glad you dig it. Then he's all, gotta bounce back to work. When his buddy vanishes, the dude's thinking she seemed kinda bummed. But then he's back on track, planning to rally the squad to tackle 666 dungeons and stop the bad stuff. Staring at the walls, he's like, better finish my base before diving in. Later on, he shows off all the gear he prepped for his buddy, but she's like, got anything for a smackdown? He's all, nah, my cards are my weapons, just need a gas mask. The ninja's like, nah, air's chill in the dungeon. Slapping on his specs, Kazuhiko's like, alright, let's get this exploration party started. A bit further in, he's all, yo, this place is lit and the air's fresh. Akane's like, yeah, but only near the safe zone. Checking her out, he's thinking how chill and safe she makes him feel. She spins around. I can feel you staring. And he's like, thought we'd see monsters by now. Kunoichi's like, first floor monsters are weak and they pop up whenever. They spot a goblin and duck behind a wall. The ninja's like, these guys are kid-sized, solo or squad. Curious, he's like, can these little dudes sneak up and attack? Suddenly, a goblin chomps his arm. He yeets it away, checks the bite, and he's like, I got this. He decks the goblin, and it drops a coin. The ninja's like, that's your prize for smacking the little dude. Ezoi's hyped. Not bad for a first-timer, huh? After some Monster 101, she's like, you're stronger than I thought. Showing off his brass knuckles, he's like, all thanks to these bad boys. Akane's grinning. Knew you had it in you, master. They dive back into monster bashing. 3 hours later, the ninja's like, wanna chill for a bit? He's like, nah, let's hit the second floor. First was a breeze. She's like, better rank up first, master. He takes her advice, trains on the way back. Later, he's checking out his goblin cards. Then, boom, a system window pops up. Gotcha ability unlocked, let's go. Kunoichi's a bit on edge. Would you ditch me for a random power? He's like, nah, only if I kick the bucket or beat all the dungeons. Then he's back to counting goblins for more cards. After some quick math, he tests an item. And, surprise, the system screen's changing. We find out there are 4 gotcha categories: character, weapon, equipment, and item. The ninja's like, now you can use dungeon loot. No hesitation, he clicks a card. And, it's a basic healing potion. Akane's like, chill, it's just your first try. He's all embarrassed. Don't get so close. But she's like, just let me know when you're ready. Kazuhiko's like, gotta focus on leveling up. The ninja's like, I'll be here, no matter what. A few days later, Ezoi's stoked. racked up 276,500 yen. Then he's like, oh snap, taxes. The ninja's confused, but he breaks it down. He's wondering how to explain dungeon cash. But he's like, focus on consulting, and notices he's shed some pounds. She's like, that's the power-up effect. When you breathe in the smoke from monsters while training, it's like inhaling a spicy burrito, but with more drama. Rocking his suit, our hero gets it, waves goodbye, and struts off like a boss. At a restaurant, Iwamoto, his childhood buddy, jokes about him shedding pounds, like he's on some secret ninja diet. Switching gears, Kazuhiko whips out training plans and career subsidy forms, like a magician pulling rabbits from a hat. Glasses guy gets all hyped, ready to book a meeting with the next big boss like he's got the golden ticket. Asked why he's not joining the squad, the lawyer's all, nah, I'm a lone wolf, bro. Meeting wraps up, he heads back to his base, pondering if he should deck it out with a bed and some cool stuff. Akane pops up, asking if he's really got all that, like she's expecting a secret lair. He's like, whoa, don't sneak up on me like that. They get pretty chummy, but then he's like, back up, ninja, gotta work. Later they chat about gacha draws, like it's the latest TikTok trend. She's shocked, you're gonna slay 5,000 goblins for 10 cards? Seriously? He's like, yup, got it all mapped out. Ninja's curious if he can keep up the goblin slaying marathon for 148 hours. He's like, totally, gotta test efficiency and mining frequency, you know? Later he's wiping out those little monsters like they're nothing. Kunoichi's like, add a kick and a punch while you're at it. He's game, sure, let's try it. 110 minutes later, he's down to 100 monsters, but his level's still stuck. Ninja picks up a card. Wow, never seen anyone this efficient. During snack time, lawyer dude's thinking, maybe a few more rounds will change the drop rate. In another battle, he yeets a goblin, and poof, it's gone with one punch. Akane's all excited. Your rank's up, but your skill list's empty. What's up with that? He's like, I'll check it later now that I'm rank E. Hours later, Ninja asks if he's gonna chill today. He's like, yeah, but gotta peek at that empty skill space first. She gets too close again, blocking his view like a cat on a keyboard. Turning his head, Ezoe finds he can pick spear, squad, or martial arts skills. Kunoichi's like, third option's cool, you're all about those physical attacks. But he's got his own plan, needs a skill for forming a squad. After checking out other skills, he heads home for a bath, then it's back to the dungeon, ready for action. Suddenly doorbell rings, and there's a girl for her part-time gig. Inside, she's shocked by the trash and ready meal chaos, like a tornado hit. Turns out Mari Kanuchi's related to him, pops by weekly to help out. Lawyer's like, there's a story here, but no questions, okay? Decides to skip the test that day, like a surprise day off. Cleaner's like, you're looking thinner. He's like, same old me, but hey, your salary's going up. Mari's stoked. Sweet, now I can hit that school trip in October. Switching topics, he asks about her grandma, finds out she needs hospital care, but cash is tight. Mari's mom's not doing great either, might drop out to work. Kazuhiko's like, I got you, finish school, go to college, I'll talk to Shiori. Girl's curious if his job's shady, like he's a secret agent or something. Consultant's like, what do you think I do, rob banks? Tells her she's free to do her thing, no strings attached. Night falls, he hands her payment with a bonus, like a surprise gift. Mari leaves, and he's like, I'll tell her about the dungeon when the time's right. In the dungeon, lawyer's ready to train with a steel spear like a warrior. Akane's like, done with your chores? He's like, yup, time to practice. On the first floor, he takes down a goblin, like a pro. Says he's mastering the spear with both hands and one hand, like a true ninja. The duo heads to the second floor, ready for more action. The ninja spills the tea that there's gotta be a safe zone and a teleport portal back to the first floor. Scanning the scene, the main dude's all, yup, this is totally an A-class dungeon vibe. Out of nowhere, a C-rank orc crashes the party. The girl gets all worried, saying this is way out of the ordinary. The big dude roars like a lion and goes full beast mode. With her dagger ready, Kunoichi tells her buddy to skedaddle. Then she leaps into the air for her epic first strike. The consultant's shook when an orc drops a 1,000 yen note after getting wrecked. The ninjas chill, saying they should bounce back to the first floor to cook up a better plan. E-Zone's not having it, wanting to try his luck on a D-rank monster gacha style. Plus, he's all about stacking cash and leveling up. Spotting another creature, he decides to go for the belly shot first, then the head. The orc throws up an arm to block the dude. Seeing her master down, the ninja freaks out. She rushes over, yelling like a banshee. After a healing potion, the main guy's eyes pop open again. He tells his buddy she nailed it by saving him. Then, he admits he picked the wrong weapon. So, He's ready to throw down again and try something new. Face to face with the enemy, the consultant figures starting at the knee is the move. When it works, he jumps and goes for a sneak attack from behind. Later, chilling in the safe zone, the dude's like, "At this rate, we'll hit the 3rd floor soon." Akane's worried, saying she doesn't want him getting hurt again, so he should chill a bit. Hearing he wants to hit rank D soon, she says that's pushing human limits. Kazuhiko's all, "I know, but I gotta bulk up with supplements and boost my power," before leveling up and moving to the next phase. A few days later, the ninjas hyped that after smashing 1,000 goblins, their cash stash is looking fat. Asked if he'll keep working topside, the main guy's like, "Yup," and says he needs to keep it up so the government doesn't snoop into his accounts. Elsewhere, Iwamoto's down for a trade, but his buddy needs to know buying the land's gonna cost big bucks. Hearing he doesn't care, the glasses guy's relieved, but wonders if the cash is sketchy. The consultant's like, "Nah, what would you do if you found a cave full of cash?" Curious, the businessman says he'd check if it's legit and then call the cops, but if that's a no-go, he'd start spending it. Iwamoto spills he knows someone who can help the lawyer. This person can make the cash's origin vanish with some sneaky transfers. Kazuhiko thanks him and says he'll dig into it later. Later, he heads to a car in a parking lot to drop off a suitcase with some of the cash to his buddy's contact. Asked if there's any drama if the shell companies get busted, the criminal's like, "Nah." After sealing the deal, the main guy's ready to gear up. We're whisked away to New York City, where a duo's snooping around an alley. At the White House, the president's yelling that America comes first. He mentions hearing some clowns are messing with his beloved nation. A sidekick says actually, 2 mystery caves with weird time vibes popped up in the country, and according to the scoop, monsters are chilling in both spots. Ronald asks about the time flow and flips out over how wild the difference is. Determined, he says America won't be threatened by any danger, so the investigation's gotta be on point. In Tokyo, in the Osaka district, Take tells a woman to chill until suddenly a hole opens up in the ground. We're whisked to Nagatacho, where a monster's been spotted. A glasses-wearing dude talks about the crater in the parking lot and says 2 cops got jumped by the creature in the pic. Plus, the cops tried to enter the cave, but their weapons turned into cards and everyone got wrecked. Another exec asks if there's any foreign movement. The older guy confirms and says, "The US reported these weird caves showing up." Seated, Seiichiro Urabe says they gotta tread carefully, as it might be some unknown global terrorist squad. Meanwhile, in the Edogawa district, Kazuhiko's watching the news and sees the whole world's freaking out. Beside him, Akane's all, "These dungeon newbies gotta learn the hard way, man." The main dude's on a mission to find some ride-or-die pals to tackle dungeons with him. But first, he figures it's smart to see how the world reacts to all this. His squad needs peeps with strong minds, ready to fight for others, not just themselves. We get the 411 on Shiori, Mari's mom. Turns out, she had Mari in high school, married her BF, then they split up soon after. In the middle of all that drama, Azoe swung by and asked if Mari could work part-time at his crib. Fast forward 3 years. Mari rolls in, announcing she's home, and her cousins upped her paycheck. Plus, she's got a gig that pays even more. Mom's a bit stressed, tells Mari to hit the shower so they can chat later. Back at his place, the main dude hears his cash got cleaned up and is heading to a special account. Chillin' in bed, he realizes he needs more dough 'cause of taxes. Next day, he hops in his car to head out, but spots what looks like a crash on the way. He gets out, checks it out, and finds a dungeon popped up on the road to Osaka. A dude's freaking out, asking someone to call the cops. Near the hole, the main guy confirms the dungeon's there. A lady hands him her watch to check the time flow. All set, he gears up to dive in. Inside, he figures it must seem like just a few minutes have passed for everyone else. Kazuhiko finds the safe zone. With his brass knuckles ready, he steps onto the first floor, clueless about what's coming. A cute bunny hops up ahead, but then it morphs and charges at him. Just before he strikes, he says, "This is how it's done. When the critter's down, no cash drops." Quickly, he spots a crystal on the ground, and decides he needs a chat with Akane later. He strolls a bit more, feeding 2 creatures, then heads back up and tells everyone if no one goes in, it's all good, 'cause it's the same dungeon from the parking lot. A guy yells, "Who the heck is Izoe?" Cutting to the chase, he says he's one of the folks wiping out these dungeons. At the base, the ninja spills that the item her master found is a magic stone, only usable by those with talent or a special tool. Curious, the main dude asks why crystals showed up on Earth, which is all about science, not magic. The ninja dodges the question, asking what he thinks the world needs most. Later, on the 3rd floor, the lawyer's up against skeleton knights. Once they're toast, a woman steps up, saying she expected nothing less from her buddy, but warns him to watch out for getting surrounded. They dive back into battle together, and yen notes start raining down. After wrapping up, Kazuhiko says he's gonna add weight to his hunts to level up starting tomorrow. Meanwhile, dungeon news keeps popping up everywhere, especially after the UN's been holding tons of meetings with different countries. A Chinese rep asks if their area shouldn't be top priority, being hit hardest by dungeons. A guy disagrees, backing the American ambassador. A debate kicks off about pulling troops out. A bespectacled dude's fuming, saying it's time for everyone to pitch in and help his country. Someone tells him to chill, and says they gotta take immediate action against the current mess. At the White House, Ronald finds out demands for dungeon info are heating up. Not bothered, the Prez says he'd rather blow the whole place up. Cause even if they spill the beans, no one's gonna buy it. A sidekick suggests announcing everything with other leaders at the GT conference. Pumped, Howard tells him to hit up Seiichiro ASAP. Back to the main dude, who just took down 300 skeletons in 45 minutes. Feeling good, he thinks that'll bring in some serious cash. Knowing what his master wants, Akane says to hit the goal, he'll need to take out 200,000 skeletons in 6 days. Out of nowhere, a message pops up about a limit break. Being the first to pull it off, he scores the legendary card of Cheeky Emily. Baffled, he wonders what on earth a limit break of existence is. To his surprise, a woman with cat ears pops up. She's all, "Why are you guys invading my space?" before saying she's a magical genius and one of the 108 pillars. The dungeon conqueror and his buddy just stand there while she's like, "You can call me by my first name only." The ninja jumps in saying it's cool to meet the mage. But she's like, "Wow, bold move summoning another pillar besides me." Kunoichi's all confused, asking what's up. The new squad member points her staff, asking if she's trying to charm the master with those outfits. Without waiting, she's like, "I'm the boss now," since E-Zone seems to be a total snooze fest. He scoops Emily up in his arms and tells the ninja to watch the monsters while he schools the mage. The ponytailed woman's like, "Do your thing, as long as you're happy." After tossing the magical genius to the ground, the main dude's like, "I don't need an ally with an ego bigger than Earth, so she better chill or find another master." Grinning, the Catwoman's like, "Don't be so full of yourself." Cutting her off, the consultant's like, "Call me master, just like Akane does." The mage is furious, asking who he thinks he is. Kazuhiko's annoyed, saying someone needs a manners lesson. After getting slapped, Emily starts bawling her eyes out. The lawyer steps up, saying he's cool with her sass as long as she respects him and the ninja. Then he's like, "I need your power to save the world. But if she can't handle him as master, she should go back to the card." Wiping her tears, the Catwoman's like, "I'll fight with you. I'm a legendary card after all." Wrapping it up, the consultant's like, "Can't wait to work with you, Mage." Back at base, he whips out a board to explain the dungeons popping up, and says in these 98 days, 130 dungeons should have appeared, but the UN only reported 36. The magical genius is like, "I'd rather work with other cards than humans." Ezoi's like, "Whatever," and says the next ally will be like him, since his group needs recognition and soon dungeons will be public. When asked about starting the organization, the main guy's like, "Right after I move." We jump to the G7 conference room in Nagoya. Ronald's grinning, saying his country found out dungeon black stones can split water for hydrogen, which means a new energy revolution, so all countries gotta team up. Japan's rep agrees with him. Then he's like, "We need a new job for exploring these places. But for that, the private sector's gotta step up, because who knows what meds and tech we might find." When asked about the job name, he suggests calling them adventurers. A month later, the Dungeon Adventurers group opens to the public. Ready to roll, the main guy's like, "This is happening faster than I thought." Mari and Shiori show up with boxes, and they're all, "Nice new house, dude." The woman's smiling, saying it's wild to see him move so quick. Seeing some stuff in a box, the girl's like, "What's my cousin been up to?" The consultant's like, "We'll chat about it later." Later, he takes them to the dungeon, and says he brought them there with a skill called teleportation. The young woman's mom's shocked, asking what that means. Kazuhiko explains that a dungeon popped up in his garden 4 months ago. So he sealed it and started taking out the monsters inside. The problem is, in 8 months, dungeons will fully activate, and who knows the damage. So he wants Mari to help clear it while learning to protect herself. Shiori's like, "No way my daughter's doing something so risky." The consultant insists, offering 2,000 yen per hour, but in dungeon time, since 1 hour on the surface equals 144 hours in the dungeon, meaning the girl gets 288,000 yen per hour. The woman's disappointed, saying she didn't expect him to try to buy them before they leave. Ezoi shows a healing potion, saying he really needs help. Then he calls Akane and Emily. Smiling, the duo pops up and says, "Hey." Then the main dude explains they're the go-to squad for battle backup and monster loot recovery. But Shiori, being the mom she is, says no way Mari's getting into danger. Taking charge, the girls all thanks for the chance and says she'll mull it over. With an envelope, the consultant's like, here's some cash up front. Thanks for the moving help. Rolling up, the ninja's curious about the chat and finds out the master's not cool with family getting involved. Still, he hopes someone will take over his gig if things go south, so all they can do is chill and wait. Miles away, the mom checks if her kid's good. She's like, yeah, and says the guy never asked for her help before. He's always had their backs, so she wants to return the favor. Shiori's on board but tells Mari to chill and keep hitting the books. Next day, the girl hits up the consultant's place, and with a briefcase, she's ready to dive into her new gig. Later, the girl's thinking how wearing a 5-kilogram vest is a workout. Kazuhiko's pushing, saying they gotta move, since it's all foot traffic inside. Emily's like, no need to be a beast like her master with 52-kilogram gear. She's just starting, gotta ease into it. Flopping on the ground, the girl's done walking and gets a break. Looking down, she spots a rabbit card and thinks it's adorable. The main dude's not letting his cousin summon it. But the mage is like, cute is cute, no harm. Once summoned, the bunny's waving like a pro. Mari's all, how's this cutie a monster? The consultant's not amused, tells her to keep her distance. Akane's like, pet monsters can level up. Emily's nodding, saying the bunny's got her back. Goblins crash the convo. The mage is quick with a fire arrow. After the goblins are toast, the short-haired girl wonders if she'll do magic someday. The cat woman's flexing her power, then offers to teach magic to the newbie. The main dude's pumped, says it's time to go deeper. More monsters show up, ninja time. She's showing off, taking down goblins in one swoop, and says the girl will have to handle them solo someday. Mari's curious about weapon cards. Geared up, she grabs a sword and charges. Kunoichi checks in, finds out she one-shotted the monster, thanks to her workout grind. Suddenly a baddie rushes them. But surprise, Muse got it handled, taking down the goblin. Hugging the bunny, the short-haired girl's like, this little dude's my partner. For the help, the bunny gets a stew treat. Seeing the confusion, the ninja explains monsters eat whatever they can. Knowing her cousin's a one-hit wonder, Ezoe's cool with her keeping the bunny, then hands over a card holder. Everyone tunes into the news, finding out a third dungeon wave's confirmed. In Sapporo, Maruyama's worried the Snowfest might get axed, since the park's got a spooky vibe going on. The main dude's like, called it. Mari's worried if things will go back to normal. The consultant's like, we got this. Turns out, Hokkaido's under tight watch by the self-defense forces, so everyone's safe. At home, the consultant's chatting about the new dungeon and after some math, figures there's about 7 waves left, plus a year for the big organization's plans to kick in. We jump to school and meet Shingo Yamaoka, who's got a crush on Mari, thinking she's the class queen. A bit away, the girl's chatting with a buddy about the news. Curious, one girl asks if the adventurer's got a boyfriend, since she's been different lately. Then, they're all about talent agencies, until they're convinced the girl's boyfriend must be Ezoe. Hearing this makes the dark-haired boy see red. Far away, the protagonist's cousin is super relieved, feeling like a master of disguise. Out of nowhere, this dude rolls up and says his name's Wakagi. He cuts to the chase, asking if she wants to be an idol. Mari's like, nah, I'm good, and tells him to bounce, but he keeps pushing, grabbing her shoulder. She grabs his wrist, all serious, and asks if she should call the cops. Inside, she spills the tea to her mom about what went down. The protagonist rolls up, parking his car out front. In the car, he warns his cousin not to mess with producers or talent scouts. Then he explains she's got that enhancement factor making her stronger, so she needs to chill and be careful. In the dungeon, she's rocking rare gear that boosts her physical and magical powers. Emily's hyped, saying a white cape would totally complete the look, but the consultant's like, nah, not wasting summons on that. Mew shows off her boxing gloves, ready to protect her tiny paws. She starts shadowboxing, throwing punches like a pro. The mage helps her out, explaining how to fire up a fire arrow. She nails it, using her power against undead baddies. Kazuhiko says it's time to hit the 3rd floor for some sacred magic practice. Up there, the rabbit's going ham on a skeleton, making her owner beam with pride, checking out the brush used to fluff up the rabbit's fur. The consultant notes it's a solid countermeasure for that floor. The mage agrees, saying the brush boosts the animal's defense. The protagonist's all pumped, saying it's time to prep for the next adventure. After Mari's first mission, the consultant hands her an envelope with 2,000 yen for leveling up. She's stoked, thanking him, and planning to snag a souvenir for her mom. When asked about Sunday plans, Ezoe's all about chilling in the morning and dungeon diving later. Curious, the adventurer asks if he's going anywhere in the morning. He says, nah, just wants to catch a special on the Sapporo dungeon. So he suggests she takes some chill time too. At home, Shiori's daughter tunes into the news. The reporter's saying it's too soon to think more dungeons won't pop up, since it's a wild, supernatural event and nobody knows how long it'll last. Thinking it over, the protagonists worry Japan's dragging its feet on this. We zoom over to the Ministry of Defense, where the Prime Minister's debating if civilians should get a shot at the dungeons. Someone mentions experts have thoughts on adventurer management. When asked who's in charge of countermeasures, the Prime Minister says Ishihara's on it. Meanwhile, at the Dungeon Adventurer Management Department in Yokohama, soldiers are eavesdropping on a heated convo, and that's when we meet Akira Shishido, a karate master aiming to be the ultimate adventurer. At the exam site, the young dude faces off with Kazuhiko. A guard announces the exam starting and tells everyone to bring their docs. Watching the test, the martial artist thinks the questions are a breeze. After acing it, he moves to the physical test and spots the protagonist, who also nailed the written part. From a distance, he checks out the consultant's build. Meanwhile, the consultant's all about passing the test. Then, candidates head to the strength and lung capacity tests, seeing Ezoe there too. Shishido wonders if he's been holding back. When results drop, the young guy tries to catch the man's name, until someone shouts it out loud. Checking the list, he's shocked the lawyer made top 30 even while holding back, and figures all he can do is hope the guy goes all out in the next round. We head to the secondary exam site inside the Yokohama dungeon. A soldier explains if anyone gets hurt or worse, the government's not liable, then says each group has 10 members, and the faster they are, the quicker it's over. After checking out the competition, the martial artist notices most are just meh, except for Kazuhiko, who's on a whole other level, like a boss. The squads get the call to grab their gear before diving into the dungeon. Grinning, Akira's all, "Sweet, my test scores match the consultants." Outside, a reporter's hyped, announcing the adventurer wannabes have finally hit the dungeon. Worried, the main dude's like, "The government's pushing this system hard, but the real deal is, can they stream the exam without a hitch?" Boom, his group's up next. On the first floor, a woman bolts ahead, super stoked to be there. Turns out her name's Ayuko Okayama, and she's all about saving dungeons. Thinking she's a bit wild, the martial artist's like, "I'll be the leader here." A bit further, they bump into a rabbit. Freaked out, the adventurers are like, "What now?" But the woman steps up and tells everyone to chill, she's got this. The main dude's like, "Facing monsters like that? Risky business." Okayama's all, "No way these cute critters are bad, since any animal would snap if its crib got invaded." Shishido tries to argue, but she yells, "The animals are victims of the Japanese government." Then, she turns to the bunny, and kneeling says they all want to be pals with the little guy. Keeping its cute vibe, the bunny hops onto her leg. Totally smitten, Ayuko vows to protect the bunny forever. A bit away, the martial artist's like, "Chill, girl." But suddenly, the bunny goes full savage and chomps her nose. She's in shock as the monster spits out what it nabbed onto the ground. Screaming, she's like, "Shouldn't have let my guard down." When the examiner rolls up, Ezoe's like, "Do we keep going?" Especially after she let her wild dreams mess things up and risked everyone. With her hand on her nose, Okayama's like, "Help, please." The consultant's like, "Can I count on the instructor's help?" Akira just watches the chaos unfold. After the strawberry juice stops flowing, she apologizes for the drama. The other candidates are like, "No worries." But out of nowhere, 3 more bunnies crash the chill moment. Okamura's on young woman duty, while the main dude's got the rest. The martial artist jumps in and kicks one of the monsters. Kazuhiko's impressed, but the young man's like, "Dude, look behind you." Turning, the consultant's face to face with a trio of baddies. Using his fist, he takes them all down. No sweat. Showing he and Shishido are a killer team. Outside, a reporter's buzzing about Ayuko getting hurt during the exam. Sitting down, the main dude's glued to the TV, learning the government's got plans to stop this from happening again. Thinking, he's like, that mess could have been avoided. And remembering the future, he decides to step up his game. The martial artist's super pumped, saying the guy was epic in the test. When asked who he is, the consultant's all tongue-tied. Akira's chill, saying he's curious about the main dude's skills and asks where he trained. The young dude brags about his wins and introduces himself. Surprised, the lawyer's like, "This martial artist could be a game changer for my crew." They get sidetracked by the news. Annoyed, Ezoe's like, "Citizens wanted privatization first." The martial artist agrees, hoping adventurer exams stick around. Then he asks about the main dude's story, but he's like, "Can't spill the deets." When asked why he wants to be an adventurer, Shishido's like, "I crave epic monster battles." The consultant's like, "You're an interesting dude," and spills his dream of being a dungeon conqueror. Suddenly, 3 soldiers roll in. Taking charge, the Yokohama dungeon boss thanks them for their help. before announcing they've officially passed the adventurer test. The martial artist and consultant get their licenses and the man's backing. Then, Masahiko explains the adventurer system's future is shaky, so a review's coming. But to prove the civilian recruitment works, the Prime Minister needs them. The main dude's shocked, while Akira's like, I'm in if I get to fight monsters. Curious, the commander asks what the consultant does for a living. He asks if the soldier could sign a contract before spilling more deets. Annoyed, Kutsuragi's all, I'm not the type to blab secrets. The lawyer's chill, saying that goes for the martial artist too. Then, he spills the beans on how he got his strength. The soldier's mind blown to learn the dude's the first contact. Continuing, the main guy shares that the world's first dungeon popped up in his backyard, flipping his life upside down. Then, he whips out a potion card that can cure even the nastiest diseases. The karate champ's like, now I get why you're so buff. After the shock, the commander says if the consultant helps the country, he gets full support from the self-defense squad. Kazuhiko's all, sweet, I'm in. A few days post-exam. News spreads fast that 2 adventurers hit the dungeon on government orders. Later, the duo's back, lugging a ton of bags. They look wiped out but still wave to the reporters, all, we're good. Turns out, for hauling back 100 kilos of magic stones, they score 10 million yen. The martial artist's grinning at his fans, soaking up the praise. Then, they sign a doc to get their reward cash. When asked about the cards, the consultant's like, I'm keeping them. Unlike his buddy, who's keeping one and selling the rest. Outside, reporters ask how many monsters the main guy took down. No sweat, he says in 3 dungeon days, they slayed 33,000 monsters. Akira, all dreamy, says his time there was like a fantasy. Ezoe, seizing the moment, announces his new gig, Dungeon Busters Inc., and reveals the martial artist's his first hire. Giving more scoop, the consultant says he's all about exploring dungeons to zap them away. A reporter's like, that's epic, hope you go global. A few days later, Iwamoto and the main guy grab a bite at a restaurant. The consultant's like, been juggling work. Glasses guy's smiling, saying, the office coffee drama's getting sorted. They lock eyes for a sec. Then the lawyer breaks it, saying his buddy doesn't need to spill the beans. The businessman, relieved, hears his contract's on pause for his new gig. Hearing the doors are always open, Ezoe's all thankful. Iwamoto extends a hand, congratulating him on Dungeon Busters, and they wrap it up with a solid handshake. Next stop, the Abyss Dungeon, where Mari and Shishido finally make their entrance. The martial artist's like, the girl's cute but strong vibes. The main guy pops up saying his cousin's definitely tougher. Then he intros Akane and Emily. After sharing he's been training for 5 months, the consultant's like, that's why I've got powers that wow even world champs. Pumped, the martial artist's up for a fight, first up Mew. After some punches fly, the young guy's like, no rabbit moves like that, thinking he can't lose to this critter. The little one lands, ready to strike again. Determined, Akira's set to take her down with a light jab. Mew leaps with a fist forward, and, with a cross counter, she floors the martial artist. On the ground, the young guy's like, no way I lost with 1 hit. The main guy, teasing, says he made him fight the rabbit to show his weak spots. Standing up, the adventurer's like, I've always fought humans, so some moves didn't work. Kazuhiko nods, saying among humans, the young guy might be the strongest, but there's a whole new level of strength here. And, since the martial artist's still in E-class, he's gotta hustle to level up. So he should aim to be the strongest of all. A bit further, the adventurer's shocked to see a monster that looks like a flying squirrel. Warning it's dangerous, the lawyer jumps in and lands a punch. The tiny creature hits the wall and gets finished with a shovel. Seeing it used magic, Ezoe's like, now I get why the self-defense forces struggle on floor 2. Then, he grabs the magic stone, and after some quick math, figures they can repeat that 18 times in 12 hours. Conquering the Yokohama dungeon? Totally doable, dude. We're whisked off to the Ministry of Defense. Ishihara's on a mission to win back public opinion after the Ayuko drama. She's brainstorming how to hype up the adventurer life. Then she tells a soldier to prep the car for a Yokohama dungeon trip. On the ride, she's binge-watching vids from the adventurer duo. They're spilling the tea on how there's no point system. Ezoe's all about how beating monsters makes you level up faster. The director shuts her notebook, deep in thought about her past moves. She's wondering what else she can do to get more peeps to sign up. Day 2 of the dungeon dig. Adventurers pop up with 150 kilograms of magic stones, no biggie. The consultant's hoarding all the cards, while the martial artist keeps one, sells the rest. Switching gears, the main guy mentions the foreign media's going wild over the system. Ever since the accident, protests against civilian recruitment have been popping off. Suddenly, a soldier's at the door saying someone wants to chat with the duo. In another room, Yuki rolls in, wanting to talk shop. Kazuhiko's shook to find out she wants his take on boosting applications. The director's like, even with all the promo, signups are still low. The consultant's curious why the government's so keen on adventurers. She spills that they need 45,000 tons of magic stones yearly for renewable energy. Plus, they want to ditch spending 20 trillion yen on fossil fuels. So they need 2,250 civilians to go adventurer mode. The main guy's got a plan, but needs Ishihara's green light. Fast forward a few days in Tokyo. Mutsuo Tanaka's bummed the limited edition PS is sold out. He's been through a ton of jobs, now freelancing as a doujinshi programmer. Ezoi's press conference kicks off, and the chubby guy's all ears. He's a mega fan since they're from the same era. Mic in hand, the main guy's like, listen up to the Ministry of Defense's news. Two ladies roll in with stacks of cash, plopping them behind the consultant. He drops the bomb that this is what adventurers can rake in yearly. He announces they're hunting for an apprentice, trained in a day to ace the exam. So, if you're out of shape and want cash, sign up for Dungeon Boot Camp. The training announcement's a total hit. The director's floored, saying the response nearly crashed the ministry's server. Hearing 46,000 folks applied, the lawyer's grinning, saying it was a blast to help. Yuki's stoked, saying his presence was the cherry on top. She asks the duo to help pick someone from the list. Later, Kazuhiko's found the perfect candidate to wow Japan. Turns out it's Mutsuo, who's 85 kilograms and 42 years old. The director's cool with leaving the choice to the consultant. Grinning, he asks her to snap pics and vids of the test for future training. This'll also help promote the dungeon's perks and get society on board. Next day, Shishido's filming the doc on the Chosen One. Asked about camp expectations, Tanaka's speechless. But after a sec, he says Ezoi's charisma hooked him and he wants a fresh start. The main guy's grateful for the props, saying they'll kick off right away. They strike a pose to start, and the chubby guy's feeling super awkward. The lawyer kicks off the deets, saying he'll spend a month in the dungeon, but get a daily bath break. Pics will be snapped before bed to track his glow up. The programmer gets a 5-kilogram vest, learning he'll walk for 2 hours, rest for 20, 3 times. After a week, the body sculpting training kicks in. Mutsuo's trekking, amazed at how the consultant's still speedy with extra weights. Up ahead, the main guy tells the newbie to go at his own pace. Sometime later, the chubby dude plops down, moaning about his sore legs. Akira rolls up and hands him a magic potion to zap away the tiredness and fix those muscles. No hesitation, the coder grabs it like it's a lifesaver. Next day, he's munching on a burger. Ezoi's all curious, wondering if feeding him like that is cool. His buddy's like, totally. Dude slept like a rock and needs the fuel. After munching, the chubby guy's all thanks for the grub, then finds out he's got to haul more weight than before. Sometime later, the lawyer's all pumped to fight monsters today. The coder nods, checking out his own fist like it's a secret weapon. To help, the main dude's like, even if it feels like a game, you gotta take down those beasts. So, better ditch the soft side and get serious. The squad heads to the first floor, and boom, Tanaka's the rabbit's new favorite target. A few days later, a reporter's buzzing about dungeon training wrapping up. She shows off the candidates before pick and wonders what changes he's gone through. The coder pops up bragging about dropping 20 kilograms and getting eagle eyes. The journalist's like, sign up for training if you want to look like a champ. Watching, the ex-apprentice is thinking how he's feeling brand new, but now he's stuck, not sure what to do next. Kazuhiko shows up, asking why the dude's looking down, then gives him props for leveling up to a real adventurer. Mutsuo's jaw drops when he gets 66 cards worth 1,000,000 yen as a reward. Seizing the moment, he admits he's clueless about his next move. The consultant's like, what you need is some serious determination and a reason to dive into adventuring. But if you're lost, it's my job to guide you. So, sign this contract. No turning back. Once it's all set, welcome to the Dungeon Busters systems crew. Later, the ex-apprentice meets Mari, Mew, Akane, and Emily. Ezoi's hyped, saying they're basically a hero squad. Cause if dungeons don't get wrecked, things'll go south in 10 years. That's why he hit up the coder. His dream? A website for dungeon fans and adventurers, packed with stuff like card guides, strategies, and fresh vids. Tanaka gets it and takes the gig, saying to save the world, they'll need loads of hero squads, and he's all in. The main dude's grateful, saying once HQ's ready, he should move in. Thinking how his team just scored a powerhouse elsewhere, the director's checking out Shishido's promo vid, a bit jittery. She claims the dude's fibbing, the diet's just 2 weeks. The consultant's like, nah, he means 1 day in real time, not dungeon time. Asked about the coder's impact, he spills that site traffic's booming. Plus, the guy's the first to make enhancement factors a thing. Far off. Someone says dungeon training's only good for adventurers. The director's like, nah, gotta think about how the public sees dungeons. At base, Ezoe's stoked about getting into Sapporo, Sendai, and Osaka dungeons. Akira's pumped, saying he's over fighting orcs. Meanwhile, Emily asks Mari about Yokohama dungeon's second-floor monsters. The martial artist's sorry for rambling, but the consultant's cool with it. Then hands his cousin a letter from the flying squirrel. The critter gives Mew a stare, but soon they're holding hands, proving cross-species chats are a thing. On December 24th, a reporter says Shibuya's usually packed, but not this year, cause there's a big chance another dungeon's gonna pop up. Strolling down the street, the main dude's thinking how his crew's all busy and decides to meet Yuki for the next meeting's data. They chat about Shishido's fame and staying sharp, cause who knows when the next dungeon's gonna show. Laughing, the consultant's like, not the best Christmas Eve plan. The woman's like, true, but as public consultants, spending the holiday buried in paperwork's part of the gig. The chill vibes get totally wrecked when news drops about a new dungeon popping up in the city of Funabashi. No chill, the duos, all in to check it out. They zoom over to the park spot, soldiers helping folks bounce out of there. Kazuhiko's got that main character energy. Everyone notices. He slides through the crowd, introduces himself to get inside. He's stoked no one's hurt and asks about the investigation sitch, hears it's about to kick off, and he's like, perfect timing. The director's curious about what's in his bag. Our hero spills the tea, showing off his combat gear and card form weapons and potions. Ishihara grins, saying those goodies are clutch. The lawyer jokes she owes him a drink after the mission. As a thank you, the director's down and says she's counting on the adventurer. Word spreads fast that the consultant's in the house. In one of the tents, Eita Urushihara and Katsuki Suzuki roll up. They both give Izoe props for his help. Grinning, he suggests they hit up the first floor, where there are centipede-like creatures, 30 centimeters long and packing poison. A soldier's like, those monsters look weak, but the hero warns them to watch their backs. Those little guys are tougher than rabbits. Seeing the Funabashi are rank C, he figures he'll save the comparisons for after checking out other dungeons. Later, the director gets updates and says this place might freak people out and mess with training. Even though she's curious about where the hero got the shovel, she lets it slide and just says thanks. Looking at the crowd outside, Kazuhiko's getting annoyed. A bit later, Emily's out there battling scary creatures with explosion magic. Akane's shook, saying that blast wiped out all the Class C goblin soldiers, but the consultant's like, nah, it just scattered them, so they gotta finish off the leftovers. The mage hums, saying these enemies are no match for her skills. Always on that combat analysis grind, the lawyer says in the next setup, everyone should protect the Catwoman. The ninja's on board but says if the enemies come from one direction, it might flop. Fast forward to New Year's Eve, Ishihara's not thrilled about being called in, but she flips the script, saying she'd be solo at home if not for Izoe. They hit up a restaurant for some grub and drinks. Curious, she asks why the hero acts like he saw the dungeon outbreak coming. He jokes if she'd buy, he's just a regular salaryman with rusty reflexes. She ain't buying it, saying she has a report showing he stood by Akira and took down a bunch of rabbits. With not much else to spill, the consultant admits he triggered the dungeons. Elsewhere, the martial artist Sis is salty he hasn't shown up. At home, Mari shows her grandma the food she whipped up. Then, everyone gathers to catch the hero's interview on TV. In the car, Kazuhiko tells the taxi driver to drop him at the bridge. After getting 270 yen, the driver agrees and bounces. Gazing at the moon, the consultant's deep in thought about saving the world and figures next year's outbreak will hit Sapporo, so the year-end parties are going to be lit. Inside a dungeon, soldiers get orders from the captain to bounce ASAP. Out of nowhere, one dude gets wrecked. A bit away, a guy with a freaky face is watching someone else. Holding a seed, a girl says it's wheat and figures out that offing these creatures somehow makes food. Lost in thought, she wonders if she's doing the right thing. The mysterious figure shows up and summons a massive bone monster. Laughing, he's ready to go after the girl. Elsewhere, Tanaka's mind blown by how much better the local food is. Kazuhiko's all smiles, saying even with a dungeon around, the fishermen still hit the sea. Then, the trio chats about the snow festival. The programmer's talking about last year's shenanigans until the restaurant owner shows up with more free sushi, all 'cause they're adventurers. Later, Yuki asks if the hero's digging Susukino. He nods and asks if she checked out the military training field and why she called him. She explains that the first floor of the Sapporo dungeon spawns slimes weak enough to squish underfoot. But they don't drop loot, so the government's hoping his crew can investigate and wipe out the creatures. Since a dungeon that doesn't produce anything is just a big ol' headache, and if Japan, the first to roll out the adventurer system, can clear a cave, it'd be a major PR win. Seeing no downside, the consultant's all in for the mission, as long as the director sorts out the reward before the big meeting. After the call, Akira jokes that his buddy's taste in women is, well, questionable. The main dude says the director's been a huge help and it's time to test some stuff before the big monster mash. In the Sapporo dungeon, Akane checks if her master made it in one piece. He's all good and asks about the slimes in the pick. The ninja spills that the monster's super weak, not even rank F, so the dungeon's rank D. Depending on the other critters. Lurking around, 3 people could totally handle it. When told to head back to the card, the kunoichi says she's feeling lonely and hoped the guy could keep her company. Laughing, Tanaka and Akira remind the pair they're still there, totally killing the romantic vibe. Backing up, Izoi shows off the helmet with a camera for filming, so the programmer should just focus on getting the shots. When asked if he's hesitating to squash the monsters, the guy denies it but says he just wants to chill and watch this time, while thinking about everything the consultant needs to build an epic clan. Getting a bit emotional, Mutsuo figures being part of it will be super rewarding. Sometime later, the main dude spots a slime. Squishing it with his boot, he gives a quick rundown on what it is. Holding the camera, the programmer promises to watch his step. Curious, the martial artist wonders if these little guys are tough against physical hits. Then, he smacks one and slime goes everywhere. A few hours later, the consultant says clearing the first floor was a breeze. Starting cleanup on the second floor, he warns the investigation should take 2 hours. The trio grabs a snack break. Impressed by the mini stove, the cameraman says Japan's got killer camping gear. On the third floor, Akira's stoked to see different monsters. When one creature bites the dust, a magic stone drops. But to their disappointment, it's only 3 grams and smaller than the Yokohama dungeon ones. Suddenly, Tanaka spots they've hit a dead end. To avoid this again, the main dude asks if the guy can whip up an app to map labyrinths. The programmer's on it, suggesting they make a detailed map first, then refine it on a tablet. On the 4th floor, the need for a map is even more obvious, but the trio has to pause to focus on a hobgoblin, which is bigger than regular goblins. Grinning, Kazuhiko blocks the first hit and counters right away, making the enemy vanish instantly. Later, the programmer mentions some site sections still need finishing. Seeing what's done, the lawyer says the adventurer system's really grabbing attention and could help recruit more members. Agreeing, the guy says Dungeon Busters members don't use their skills or magic for personal gain. We're off to the 5th floor of the Sapporo dungeon, where the trio talks about the 50-centimeter tall and 1-meter wide slime that showed up. Taking charge, the martial artist says he'll crush it with a kick, but surprise, surprise, his hit doesn't work. Shocked, the young dude says his foot sank and he got pushed back. Thinking it over, the main dude wonders how to handle it best. With his spear ready, Shishido asks to try something, since he picked up spear skills during a high school exchange. The adventurer spins the weapon and aims for the enemy's core. When he nails it, a 4-gram magic stone pops out. Ezoi gives props to his buddy, saying he didn't expect him to adapt so fast. The martial artist thanks him but says he'll never be as strong as the guy. Grabbing a sword-like thing, the consultant gets ready to give it a go too. Showing it's not so weak, the slime stays alive even with a blade stuck in it. Laughing, the main dude realizes the hits just bounce off. Sometime later, the trio fills Yuki in on the sitch. The lawyer asks if they should go ahead with the extermination. The woman asks what he thinks, since he's the expert here. Alright, so here's the deal. The dude's all about getting straight to business. He says once his crew hits the bottom floor, the smartest move is to bounce back and scope out the scene. The director's totally on board, reminding everyone to watch their step on the way down. On the 6th floor, the squad gets ambushed by a swarm of flying beasties. Akira, with his epic quadruple impact punch, wipes them out. When he gets props, he's all, finally hit that superhuman level, no biggie. A few hours later, our martial arts champ hits rank C. He's stoked, saying it's all thanks to the grind. The main dude's pumped to dive into the Abyss dungeon with a world champ. Geared up to wrap up the floor, they agree to keep the momentum going. Tanaka, a bit shook, announces he's leveled up to rank E. Seeing he didn't snag any new skills, Ezoi hits up Akane for the deets. A ninja pops in, explaining the martial artist and his master unlocked their skills through mad experience and love for exploring. But Mutsuo didn't get in many fights and isn't exactly a magic whiz. Bummed out, the programmer's like, I'm done. When asked about Mari, Kunoichi says she's got a knack for sacred magic. Still, the dude shouldn't sweat it. The more he explores, the clearer his skills will get. Tearing up, the newbie adventurer's grateful for the pep talk. Then, he spills that he'd love a hacking or modeling skill. Grinning, Shishido tells him to keep his chin up and show the dungeon who's boss. The trio finally hits the last layer, which is just a straight-up hallway, no other doors. The main guy tells his crew to stay sharp, cause getting cornered here would be bad news. A bit further, the consultant realizes he still can't see the end of the tunnel. Out of nowhere, Tanaka yells for him to check out the ceiling patterns. Everyone's like, it looks like a hand trying to grab a ball on a pool table. After snapping some pics, the lawyers all, time to roll out. At the deepest point, they figure that door's gotta be the exit. Thinking about the ceiling art, Kazuhiko figures the dungeons were made by some mysterious being. After they bounce, they hit up the director. Straight to the point, the main guy says they shouldn't wreck the dungeons, cause they found traces of human history. Yuki's mind is blown, cause nothing like this has been found before. The dude then says cracking the images and saving the spots should be top priority. Totally on board, the woman says she'll leave it to him. After the call, the trio chats about the last layer. Mutsuo shares he's used to the vibe and can even film without shaking. Curious, Akira says nothing else inside seems tied to the relief. Ezui agrees, saying they should clear things up with Akane and Emily. The ninja and Mage give props for reaching the bottom floor. When asked about the drawing, she's like, no clue, just like her buddy. But they think they've seen something similar before their memories got wiped. Feeling uneasy, Kunoichi says it's something big. The main guy thanks them, and figures the drawing might clue him in on how the dungeon system wipes stuff or who made it. The trio heads to the door on the lowest floor. Hearing they gotta beat a guardian, the mage tells her master to be careful. He's like, got it, and tells the duo to head back to their cards. Once that's done, he gears up to go in. When called, Tanaka and Shishido are ready. When the door swings open, a rank C minotaur locks eyes with the adventurers. The squad leader says the beast looks sketchy, so the programmer should hang back and capture it all. The monster lets out a bone-chilling roar, making the whole floor tremble. Pumped, the martial artist gets the go-ahead to dodge the beast's axe and get in close. Unleashing its rage, the minotaur charges. Taking charge, the main guy blocks the creature. Once close enough, Akira busts out his secret move, Shinmeiken, and lands hits all over the beast. But when he goes for a kick, he gets tossed back hard. On the ground, he tells his pals he's alright, just bummed he didn't dent the monster. Ezui tells him to take another look. Then he says he'll try to take down the minotaur solo. Cause if he can't do that, there's no moving forward. The big dude throws a punch with all his might, but the consultant dodges it like a ninja, no scratch, and strikes back with a sword, super epic style. The enemy, totally sliced in half like a pizza. Worried, the programmer says his buddy's going too hard. He nods, asking for some healing potions. Stat. Once he's good, Kazuhiko gives a big thanks for the assist, then chats about how that enemy was no joke. Boom, the dungeon core pops up, lighting up everything. Taking charge, the consultant steps up to the crystal for deets. Even with doubts, he says first up is claiming admin rights. A voice booms, dungeon number 103 is toast, and the winner gets a cool skill, card manifestation. Plus, a card of Lufan Guan, the emperor of the fist, no less. A massive dude with even bigger arms shows up. Turns out, he's the god of all hand-to-hand combat. Eyeing the consultant, the entity asks if he was the one who summoned him. Sizing up the old dude, the protagonist wonders if their prize is just a grandpa. Grinning, Shishido says his buddy should say sorry, and Tanaka's like, whoa, yeah. The Fist Emperor introduces himself, saying he's been around for over a century, but never been underestimated by kids like this. Realizing his goof, Kazuhiko kneels, apologizing for being rude. The big guy says knowing and fixing your mistakes is what a real leader does, so apology accepted. Feeling better, the protagonist explains the dungeon's not fully cleared, but if Lufan joins him, they can team up. The old dude says he serves no one, but he'll help when needed. With the card in hand, the consultant checks out his new character's stats, and declares it's time to wrap up the dungeon. Mutsuo's all ears, not missing a beat. In her office, the director's shocked by the numbers at the video's end. The lawyer explains it's the countdown till monsters hit Earth. Yuki's stunned, realizing the timer's paused since not all dungeons are here yet. She asks the protagonist to scope out the other dungeons. But if conquerors can bring their cards topside, they gotta chat with Vice Minister Nishida. To help out, Ezui plans to mention in his next interview that without her, his crew couldn't have hit Sapporo. Ishihara thanks him, telling him to chill that night. Alone, she muses that an evil god must be behind all this. News of the dungeon win spreads like wildfire. In a cafe with her buddy, Mari's stoked about what her uncle's been up to. Turns out, she started seeing the consultant as her uncle a while back. Asked if she'll become an adventurer, she says she's unsure, since Kazu wants her in college. Then, they decide to hit up the song park. Meanwhile, Tanaka and Akira are squabbling over a piece of meat, while catching the news about their earlier antics. The trio pauses munching to hear the reporter talk about the dungeon core. Pumped, the programmer suggests making a video for the website too. Yuki pops up on TV, saying the three guys did it all for free, risking their necks. Buzzing with excitement, the adventurers plan a 2-night celebration. 2 nights later, the director's not thrilled to find out the trio hit a club and brought someone home. On the phone, the protagonist says he remembers everything till he blacked out. The woman insists everyone needs to head back to Tokyo, as her team, including the Ground Force Research Division, needs guides. Curious, the consultant asks about the power plant, and learns the government just whipped up a big gas turbine for hydrogen. After the call, he checks if his pals have packed up. On January 11th, at the Ministry of Defense in Ichigaya, the director approaches the protagonist, noticing he looks rough. While puffing on his cigarette, Ezoe mentions a ton of dungeon requests have come in. To spice things up, Yuki says the cabinet's approval rating is up. Annoyed, the consultant says he's not into politics, just doing it cause no one else can. The woman reassures him, saying dungeon subjugation's gonna be national policy soon. Then, she spills the beans that 29 grads from the training squad are waiting for the dude's epic return. So, she wants Kazuhiko to spill the tea on what he saw and felt, so everyone can handle the big move. The main guy's down to be the coach, and gets ready to meet the newbies, the future dungeon invaders. Flashback to 6 months before the 29 new adventurers squad up. We spot Rinko Kusakabe, a newbie in the Naginata Club at Seishin Uni, doing her thing. After wrapping up, she tells her pals to go ahead and heads home. Seiya Kusakabe, the martial arts heir, is stoked to see his sis back. Then the young dude introduces Akira to her, who says her bro's definitely gonna inherit the dojo, but the martial artist's like, nah, winning one-on-one ain't the Kusakabe style's vibe. It's all about having the power to protect your peeps. Still, the girl insists she thinks the young dude could outdo someone like Shishido. The duo starts watching Ezoe's training vid. Shocked, the siblings are like, whoa, this guy's super fast, like he could take down rabbits in a blink. Seiya's mind blown by the footage, saying the consultant's got superhuman strength. Hearing his bro can't beat the adventurer leader. Rinko's jaw drops too. Outside, the young dude says to be an adventurer, you gotta know how to fight monsters. And that's where his fam's killer moves come in handy, so he's gonna teach her everything to make it back from a war alive. Determined, she promises to become an adventurer, thinking if she meets Ezoe, she might get what true strength is. Fast forward to now, we're in the room with the approved candidates. Feeling jittery, Seiya's sis thinks her future squad looks tough. Turns out, she almost had a meltdown during training, but hung in there. All to find out what the main guy's really like. He rolls in with his crew, grabbing everyone's attention. Akira comments on the candidates' faces. Grinning, the consultant's like, no shocker, the top fighters from everywhere showed up. Excited, Rinko steps up and introduces herself, saying it's a big deal to meet the world's strongest adventurer. Kazuhiko introduces himself too, saying he's just a middle-aged dude who was out of the martial arts loop. Finding him humble, the girl says he's still stronger than everyone here. Wrapping up the chat, Yuki kicks off the meeting, sharing new dungeon intel. Then she talks about what'll go down if the phenomenon isn't stopped. But, to keep it chill, she says no one's gotta join if they don't wanna. Later, those wanting to be collectors bounce. But, to the crew's shock, only a few. Wanna be fighters, leaving the room nearly empty. When the meeting wraps, the director says maybe the guidelines didn't make it clear what happens if monsters aren't wiped out. Tanaka thinks it'd be cooler if more people stayed. Ezoe disagrees, saying it depends on the person, and says it's better to roll with how things are. Suddenly, Seigi Sumida, an ex-sumo wrestler, and Junpei Mukai, an ex-banker, pop in, wanting to join the squad. Finally, Rinko steps up, saying as a martial artist, she wants to help tackle the dungeon issue. The main guy thanks the trio for stepping up, and spills about his company's base, still in the works. In the Abyss dungeon, Liufon is thrilled to meet Mari, saying she reminds him of his granddaughter. Meanwhile, he grumbles about how guys are super inattentive. Pumped, Shishido asks the old dude for a fight. Being called master makes the big guy's day. Seizing the moment, Kazuhiko says after hitting the 4th floor, he knows brute force ain't enough, so he wants the entity to teach him how to fight. Guan says most adventurers from the first contact use the dungeons for kicks, but this guy's different. So, first, he needs to know why he fights, since when the system kicks in, the world's toast forever, and trying to stop that is like shaking a fist at the sky. The consultant says he knows some people give up easy, before he starts pondering what really drives him. After a few minutes, he's all, I've got friends, family, and a wild curiosity. And when it comes to dungeons, he's got this stubborn streak that makes him want to see it all. To wrap it up, Ezoe's like, when it's all said and done, he wants to ask the Chaos Creator how it feels to get owned. Tanaka's like, dude, that was epic. Everyone's nodding, even the Emperor of the Fist who's cracking up, saying no newbie adventurer ever had such a clear goal. Feeling good about the answer, the big guy's ready to drop some wisdom on the crew. A few hours later, the main dude and the ninja are going ham on goblins. The consultant's like, yo, there's way too many monsters, this ain't normal. Keeping his word, the old man pops up in the middle of the chaos. He's all, when you're swamped with baddies, just take 'em down one by one with a single punch. Then, Lufan's like, watch my head and feet, peeps. Once the monster mobs toast, Kazuhiko and Akira are totally shook. Rolling up Kunoichi's like, the big guy's got this skill that lures monsters and lets warriors level up. The consultant's like, that's super handy. Pumped, the martial artist's asking the big guy if he can give it a shot too. The Emperor of the Fist's chuckling, but the main dude steps up with the same ask. The old man's like, nah, you don't even know the basics compared to the martial artist. The lawyer's all, hey, I'm an adventurer, I've been training. Guan's like, alright, but I'm helping Shishido first. Azoi's thinking this skill's gonna be a game changer for the next gen, which means his squad's got a solid ally. We're off to the US, at the Department of Defense. Isaac Lowlight, the big boss, asks Rebecca what's up. She's like, got the Japan intel you wanted. After telling her to just call him the Guildmaster, he starts checking out the protagonist's files. He's like, this dude seems kinda sketchy, and she's like, yeah, but he's catching global eyes. And maybe he's got a sense of duty, but the chief's like, that makes zero sense. Especially after seeing the adventurer's interview and spotting some serious determination. After a sec, she's like, he really talked like the dungeons were his jam. Isaac's jaw drops at one of the deets, and piecing it all together, he's like, book me a Japan trip, stat. Cause only Kazuhiko's got the answers he needs. At Japan's Ministry of Defense, the rep's like, the card characters aren't real. On the other end, someone's like, bet they're bio-robots. Then they're like, shouldn't we start protesting dungeon invasions, like Australia? Since the bugs found might get animal welfare protection. Elsewhere, the main dude's soaking in the world's vibes, till the director's like, time for a drink, let's roll. At the bar, Yuki's like, ops department's letting cardholders voice their worries, and she's like, hiding the big exodus with smaller stories is working for now. But she's wondering when to spill the beans. Ezoi's like, hold up a bit longer. Then they're off to another bar, cause the director's got the next day off. In the Abyss dungeon, Emily and Mari are checking out the flying squirrel, named Pudding. Grinning, the Emperor of the Fist's like, the girl's all about slow and steady fights. Then, he and the mage start bickering over who's older. Jumping in, the consultant's like, Sapporo dungeon's done, but no chill time yet. So, he and Akira are aiming for rank B to snag new recruits. The Magic Wiz and the old guy are hyped about the new adventurers finishing basic training, but they gotta wait a bit to see who's joining. Tanaka's like, even Abyss's safe zones are packed, Yokohama needs to step it up. Hearing his master's plan to gather everyone in Edogawa, Akane's like, finally, things are clicking. The martial artist's asking about the Osaka dungeon, but his buddy's like, it's Class S, way too risky. Emily's like, Class S monsters are legends, I'm so ready. Guan's just watching the convo, chillin', while thinking that no first contact squad has ever moved this fast. On January 12th, in a conference room near the Yokohama dungeon, the new recruits from the last meeting are buzzing with nerves. Among them, aside from the familiar faces, are Suda Satu, a former student, Amena Kirishara, a former cop, and Hisato Shinohara, who's all about potions. The main character rolls in, introduces himself, and says it's awesome to meet everyone, after a quick round of intros. Ezoi kicks things off with the cop, asking why she joined the squad. She says when she saw those wild monsters pop up, she knew being a cop wasn't gonna cut it. So, she decided to level up to adventurer status and team up with the consultant. When asked for more deets, the ex-police chief says after college, she joined the force, and now she's gearing up for new kinds of baddies thanks to the current chaos. The consultant asks her thoughts on dungeon extermination. Grinning, Ameni says she's all in, but she knows the real threat is humans getting power in the dungeons. The protagonist wonders if the ex-cop's undercover, before moving to the next recruit. When called, Suda says he bailed on college in year 2 to become an adventurer, cause he's gotta avenge his dad, Koji Sato, who died on duty. Everyone clicks that his dad was one of the cops who checked out the Osaka dungeon. Ezoi offers condolences and admits they're struggling with that dungeon too. But to help the ex-student, he'll let him join the squad. Tanaka asks Shinohara to spill more about himself. Cutting to the chase, he shares his sister's got a lung disease and needs a pricey transplant. So she had to quit school and now lives with a feeding tube. To help her, he wants to learn about healing potions. The adventurers confirm the potions cure diseases. Handing over a vial, the lawyer says it's super rare and can even regrow limbs. Meaning if he joins, he can help his SS. But first, he must agree to give up 10 years of his life from now, since that's how long the battle will last. Smiling, Hisato agrees and asks for the potion. Before handing it over, Kazuhiko explains the squad's goal is to wipe out the dungeons, and they'll negotiate, plan, and even fib if needed. So, if anyone's not down with that, better bounce now. No one budges. Breaking the silence, Rinko says she signed up for this ages ago. Backing her up, the ex-cop says anyone without this grit wouldn't be here. Sigi nods, saying he felt major power vibes from the protagonist. Satu then says he wants to understand what happened to his dad through the consultant. After thanking them, Ezoe asks what they think humanity would do if they knew the world might end in 10 years. Without waiting, he says the real foes are those who'll try to stop the dungeon wipeout. That's why he's stoked no one in the room thinks that way. We zoom to the general hospital in Kanagawa, where Shinohara's blocked from seeing his sis cause visiting hours are done. Flashing the potion, he insists he needs to give it to her. But the nurses aren't buying the mystery drink. The newbie adventurer gets knocked down and yells for Ri. In her room, the young girl flips through a magazine, until her brother bursts in saying he's got the cure. Confused, she asks what's up. The nurses try to stop him, but he manages to pass the vial to Ri. After the chaos, the protagonist and crew apologize to the doc for the ruckus. The doc accepts and says the group members calmed down. Everyone heads inside and finds Hisato kneeling by his sister's bed. The doc explains he's seen all sorts of diseases, but this was his first miracle. So, the incident will be handled internally, and dungeon busters won't be blamed. Later, outside, the consultant tells everyone to head home, since it'd be super harsh to keep tabs on the newbie when he's clearly wiped out. Suda jumps in and says trading 10 years of his life for the item is way too much, especially since the self-defense squad's been getting it for free. After a quick think, the lawyer says his crew backs the self-defense forces, but as a money-making biz, they don't do freebies, so if the dude's not cool with it, he can bounce. Without a second thought, the cop's kid says he's out of there and gets a thumbs up from Kazuhiko. Before he bails, the kid says he'll outdo the guy in his own style. Knowing he's got no moves left, the main dude says they should just get back to the grind. In the Abyss dungeon, Mari's hyped about the school year wrapping up. She starts reminiscing about when she was still getting the hang of monster slaying. Emily pops up in one of the girls' uniforms and says she's always been a fan of that style. The main dude's cousin shows off the mags she brought and says when the mage can hit the surface, they'll hit up Harajuku together. Knowing her buddy can't go adventuring till 18, the magic whiz says the trip's gotta chill for now. Nodding, the short-haired girl says Ezoe's been trying to change that, but loads of folks are against it. The mage starts goofing around with her friend and says if people knew what the growth factor does, they'd think twice. When asked how the battles have been, Mari says Pudding's fire magic is lit. She then mentions her mom's gonna start working at the HQ by the end of March. So, she's gotta hustle hard. When Emily goes to swap outfits, the consultant's cousin figures it's best to keep dungeon diving with the mage, until she's old enough to go full adventurer mode. Somewhere in South America, we spot that weird creature cracking up as it charges at something. But surprise, surprise, the target just vanishes. The girl pops up behind the mystery creature and says it finally hit rank C. Pumped, the clown says he's gotta see how his enemy handles modern weapons. But first, they should probably head home. In the slum, a dude's jaw drops seeing the Joker, and he's totally defenseless against the attack. Other guys show up and aim their weapons at the laughing man. Chill as ever, the mystery creature tells them to use what they've got, but before the shots fly, one of the tough guys loses an arm. The rest start to bolt, but get snagged real quick. Before wrapping things up, the clown asks where their boss is hiding, in the office of Japan's Prime Minister. The adventurer's leader is stoked to get the certificate for being the first to wipe out a dungeon. After the dude finishes reading, cameras start flashing. In the middle of the hype, Kazuhiko shakes hands with Sheiichiro. A bit later, he heads home and announces the talks were a win. Kunoichi hands her master a coffee and asks for the meeting deets. The main dude then spills that no one brought up the dropped items, and, from now, they've got 5 months to clear the Abyss dungeon. When asked if she'd want to be the consultant's sidekick, the ninja says she'll stick with him anywhere. Our video ends here. If you liked it, leave your like. See you next time. Bye-bye.